Hello and welcome back. Sean here, Mountains Garage on a beautiful Friday afternoon, August 2025. We're about 3/4 of the way through August already, if you can believe that. Earlier in the month, I did a video when I picked up this hose crimper. It was free, but I've spent quite a bit of money getting to the point today where we're going to make a hose for the first time. I haven't done it yet. I did mount it to the bench. My intention, well, it came on one of the yellow, Weatherhead, Eaton Weatherhead, Danfoss cabinets or bins that you'd put all the spare fittings in. It was built like the pyramid. It was flat on the back, but triangle on the front to support the weight of this thing. This is 210 pounds plus the motor hydraulic unit. So I thought maybe I'd get a small table to wheel. I was going to build a table, and they sell one for it for thousands of dollars. It is cut out in the middle. This actually sits in the middle of the table to offset its weight. I found on a regular roll-around table, or probably even a toolbox, this will overcome the toolbox, especially if you mount it on the drawer side. You pull out a couple of drawers, plus the weight of this, it's going to all be on the floor. And anything that rolls around in my shop currently, I have to, if it was 2 foot square, it would be a problem because I have a space or stuff problem. So I'm working on that, but in the interim, I wanted a non-permanent solution, and you've seen all my benches. They have a receiver hitch, like on the back of your truck, and most of my, you name it, tooling of anything is on a receiver hitch itself. I guess the bench has a hitch and the tool has a receiver, or vice versa. Either way, you know what I'm talking about. 2-inch square, same thing on the back of your truck. So I made yesterday out of 1/2 inch, 1/2 by 2 and 1/2 by 1 flat bar. That's all it is. And I had a nice piece of 2-inch square stock that fit the receiver. I drilled a hole in it. All the receiver pieces, I have a 1/2 inch bolt with a T-handle in the bottom, so you can take all the slop out of it for the most part. And I dreamed this up, and I TIG welded the 1/2 inch thick flat bar. That's actually fun. If you're gonna practice TIG welding and look like a hero, at 1/2 inch you can't hurt it. I had 190 amps with a small tungsten. Didn't hurt the tungsten the whole time. It was really easy and fun. Instinct, I was gonna MIG weld it, but I didn't want all the sparks and everything. So anytime I can, I make myself TIG weld everything, the hope of getting better. So we got it mounted and wired, and I have cycled the piston a couple times just to make sure it works. It's a lot quieter than the one I was used to using before, which is good, but I have not made a hose yet. So that's where we're at right now. When I put the yellow crane, if you can see that in the picture, on the end of the bench, I used to keep the bench empty. Once I put the crane there and you start setting stuff around the crane, it kind of makes this end of the bench useless anyway. But again, this slides in on a receiver hitch. I actually lift it with the crane. And the power unit itself, I just have a couple small C-clamps, if you can see them, hold it to the bench. So nothing is permanent. However, this little corner of the bench was not getting used for anything else anyway. So now it has a purpose. I was lucky enough to get almost 2 full sets of crimper dies when I got the hose machine. I have a complete set of 4 wire dies that I will likely not use ever, if very often. 2 wire hose is enough strength for anything I'm going to have around the yard here. I'm not going in the hydraulic hose business. I was missing 3 sizes of the Z style fitting 2-wire hose dies. And I've secured all but one. I don't have the 1/4 inch or the -4 yet. But today we're going to make a 1/2 inch hose. And in the last few weeks, I was looking for information on crimping machines and dies, etc. And this pretty entertaining guys at Universal Hose and Fittings. Let me make sure I got the name of that right. Hold on. Yes, universalhoseandfittings.com. I'm not sponsored or supported by them, but the only reason I mention them is I do to anybody that offers outstanding service without even bothering to ask. Their website is really easy to navigate. I had a bunch of parts in the cart and I eventually purchased them. And I had bought a couple sizes of U-style fittings and the rest was Z fittings. So I instantly received a text and then a phone call asking if I had made a mistake or not. And the jury's out on whether buying the U fittings was a mistake. We'll get to that. But having an almost full set of Z dies, I'm only missing one at this point, I should just stick with Z fittings. However, when I plumbed my tractor back in 2011, I had some U fittings left over. So I thought it would be easy to just get 1/4, 3/8, and 1/2 dies that'll crimp a U fitting. But, well, we might as well finish that thought. I haven't. If you know anybody that has dies that would start with T-400, each Weatherhead or Eaton or Danforth die, the numbers cast into each segment, it would start with T400-2C, 3C, 4C, etc. Those are the 3 that I need, well, that would be interested in, but if I had to buy the whole set of 5, I believe they go all the way to 1 inch. So be it. And they're out there lying on people's shelves. Speaking of lying around, we're kind of jumping around here, but that's okay. It's a Friday. They suggest, and I just got a little Ziploc bag for each crimper, they claim they're going to last longer if they're stored in a plastic bag. So any crimp shop, hose shop, truck shop I've ever seen, these are laying around with an inch of dust on them. And they all seem to function fine. But hey, if they want to have it live in a plastic bag, so be it. So, and these are actually color-coded. I'm not sure what that color code means, which segues nicely into the next subject. Information. Oh, I got to finish my Universal story. I'm sorry. I end up placing a second order with Universal Hose and Fittings, and I get a phone call, and I instantly recognize the voice as the guy from the video. The owner of the store is calling me to talk all things crimpers. I had questions. He answered them. He was just following up. He says with new people that sign on and start placing orders, he just wants to see what they're up to, if he can help in any way. And I did have some questions about the other style dies. Awesome, but that's a disconnect. I've always, lived my life. You had catalogs that you could buy parts from. And if you called the phone number, you might get the guy that runs the store, but pretty rare. Most of the time you see an advertisement on TV, you're never going to talk to the people that have anything to do with the product. Here it is, the guy I just watched. This is the wonder of YouTube. The guy that just entertained me and educated me on the video is calling me on the phone. It's just cool. So I placed 2 orders with them, just trying to have, again, I'm only concentrating on 1/4, 3/8, and 1/2, or 4, 6, and 8 AN sizes. Because that's pretty much as big as I need around here. If I need to make a bigger fitting, I'll just have to wait a couple days or go down to the hydraulic store. We have a couple of them not that far away, 1/2 an hour away. And then I can bring everything home and crimp it myself. I had to start also by buying some hose. I was not afraid of the imported hoses, mostly because for most of the decades I worked at the large municipality, we went with the imported hose option, not the name brand. I mentioned in the first video information, and each crimper manufacturer wants you to use their hose and fittings, and all the crimping specs, when we're done crimping, we're supposed to measure the squeeze on it. All the specs are with their part number hose. I don't know how this hose compares to which part number of their hose, other than being 2-wire. So that is going to be for me to learn. It's not their worry that I didn't choose their hose, and they're, you know, not in any way interested in, you know, providing that information, because they can't. They don't know what I'm using for hose. That's where a place like Universal Hose, they offer 6 or 8 hose choices. They do a much better job explaining what they are. But I just happened to probably make well, I guess the jury's still out. I plumbed my tractor in 2011 with imported hose, and it's still fine. So we're going to hope for the best. But this is, believe it or not, Vevor. You've heard of them. I know where they came from. They have a lot of products. I did a video recently on the lift table, which seems to be really good quality and working fine and wicked cheap. Their hose, I end up paying, like, this is 1/2-inch hose or -8, about 91 cents a foot. That's a third less than the next cheapest option. It had excellent reviews. All the information's printed on it. 4,000 PSI working pressure. Has a website on it if you got any technical questions. It would be interesting to call them up, see if they know the crimp spec, but they don't know what I'm using for fittings. There's a whole nother world that I've, you know, dabbled in, the dark side of the crimp world, where, again, the company lines, doesn't matter, Gates, Eaton, whoever, they want to sell you all their stuff, and they can tell you anything you need to know about their stuff, but they're not interested in, like, universal crimpers, mismatching fittings and stuff like that, and understandable. There's no way they could ever police that. So I am, you know, got 1 foot on the shore and 1 foot in the water at this point, and I'm just going to do what makes sense. Universal Hose and Fittings do offer a Eaton Weatherhead copy fitting, I guess you'd have to call it. It's made by a company, which name eludes me at the time. They're made in USA. They say USA right on them. So the fittings are high quality, but they're about half price of the Eaton Weatherhead Z-Series fitting. So, Couple-O-Matic. These are Couple-O-Matic. My brain had to take a second, but Couple-O-Matic brand. I bought them through Universal Hose and Fittings. So, enough talk. Let's finally make a hose. I cut the hose. I bought a 100-foot roll. I know the quick disconnects for the snowplow. My tractor are 5 feet long. They hook up to the function on the arms of the tractor. This goes down to the valve on the quick disconnect I made on the snowplow. So I figured I hate to waste things because I'm kind of thrifty. So if I made another 5-foot hose, it might come in handy. The fittings themselves, again, this is a Z end that's going in the hose. This is your business end, I call it. This has to match whatever you're trying to hook it to. These are both rigid pipe, which means when I'm done crimping it, this 1/2-inch NPT thread does not spin or anything. Now, I bought a couple that actually swivel. It looks just like it, but you can swivel it, so if you had to connect it to something, you can take a wrench and hold the hose. The hose isn't going to spin around. You can actually screw it into something. With this, you'd have to spin the whole hose. In this particular hose, I could actually absolutely do that. I could spin the whole hose in one end and then just put the quick disconnect on the other, which spins itself. So you have to think ahead what you're going to use it for. If you were matching up a hose, you have to take into account this much added onto your dimension, your cutoff length, they call it. So your hose would actually be shorter than, you know, this is sticking out. It's going to add to your total length of the hose. So use your head there. The U-style fittings that I'm used to, I would have to spray lube and shove them in the hose. These go right in and come right back out. So you got to be careful when you crimp it, it doesn't fall out because you got to shove it up from the bottom, which we're going to do in a minute. If I had I do up in the house, like a gray marker. I have a black marker, usually in my pocket, but at least note on the hose, I have writing all over the hose, where it is when it's shoved on all the way. I didn't mention, but to cut the hose, I usually use my abrasive chop saw. That's what we used to use for decades at the municipality I worked at. Today I didn't feel like dragging it outside and plugging it in because it makes a lot of smoke. So I cut it inside with the death wheel, and other than being slightly crooked, it came out just fine. I went outside and blew both directions through the hose, and when I'm done, I'll spray brake clean in it and do it again. Because I don't want, there's a industry trade name for the stuff left behind in the hose that plugs every hydraulic valve upstream. We don't want that. So all we gotta do is put these on. Again, the U series, I don't even have to spin them. They just go right on. That's pretty cool. So I need to lubricate the die bowl, so I'm going to move you around. We're going to do all those steps and try actually crimping the hose. So hold on. Already out-talked the clicker. If you noticed in the opening walk around of the machine, I already put some stickers on it, because that's what I do to everything that comes in the shop. And why don't you tell me what your opinion is? One, did I take away from the safety warnings that you should be looking at? Or did I draw your attention to them because you're already looking at the, in this case, David Freiberger stickers? DF, David Freiberger. In the walk around video, you might have noticed there's a tube of lube that you have to lube the die bowl with. Never been used, still taped to the back of the machine, which I'm removing for the first time right now. This machine is 1 year old this month, when I gather from the information on the box. This is Acro Lube PTFE grease. A lot of them recommend Never Seas, and you can imagine what a mess that would be. I'm hoping this is more of a option you can wipe off. I'm going to try to squeeze and shake this up a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't come squirting out like it's liquid. Cut off the end. And see what happens. Yeah, it looks like green grease. We'll just kind of wipe that around. In, well, I don't know how many years, 3 decades of making hydraulic hoses. I'm not sure we ever lubed the die bowl. One of those things, I never read the instructions. I was probably shown how to use it, and I just went using it. And when you don't know, you don't know. A little on the outside, you'll see this has a step in it with a ridge. That fitting is going to fit right in there. You're going to shove the hose up the bottom, set it in the step, and then often you need a pusher ring on top. In that booklet I showed you over there, the Danfoss book, when I was looking for the crimp specs, they give you all the crimp specs for probably every other die they've ever made. They do not mention my part number dies. You flip the page past all the specs, and there is the tool package that I got with these in them. Odd, they're too new to even be in the spec sheet they included in the same manual. Apologies for putting my back to you. Maybe we can go like this. It might be better, at least when I get the hose up in there. I believe the split should face you. I saw that somewhere, so those are kind of sitting there. This white piece is going to flop in eventually and close and push down. And let's see, running around here. Again, not rehearsed, no editing. Starting on this end, I need to be right about at the .com, the C in the .com. Put her up through. Set it in the step. Hold it into the back part of the step. I'm probably blocking you. Well, see what I can do. I also didn't put my safety glasses on. I should have. Looks pretty good to me. We'll measure it, but I don't know what I'm supposed to measure it to. And as far as that, we're still on the C and the .com. Let's do it one more time. Put my safety glasses on like a good boy. I did notice that it looked kind of funny pushing down, like it was offset to one side, but it can't be. In this case, I'm on the end of the 100. Set in the step. They say to let it scream for a second. This one is probably correct. This one, I believe I let it slip down a little bit. When it started coming down, I think I stepped it out of the die. I had more of a flare on it, so I'm gonna say I gotta redo this one. See? Always mess up your first one, because I believe this is correct. But I'll do a little research. I don't think it should have that much of a bell on it. Or maybe this one went down too far. So it doesn't take a genius to figure out that the second one is correct. It sits right in the groove perfectly. The first one I did is wrong. I pushed the hose up too far. You can see the gap between the edge and where the step should be. So I pushed it up too far as it was coming down. And now I get to cut it off and do it again. That's about a $6 fitting and an inch or so of hose. Plus shipping, you know how that goes. But it's wrong, so I'll have to fix it. But hey, we made a hose. Well, half a hose anyway. Well, again, this is totally raw, unedited, and have a great weekend. I'll talk to you soon.